I will call this regular council meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Dr. Wagner, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd remain standing for a moment, please. Heavenly Father, we continue to thank you for the blessings you bestow upon our fine city. As we kick off our second year of our drug-free program at Watkins on Wednesday morning, we ask you for your guidance as we continue to reach out to our youth and reach out to our parents to try and educate all in our city on drug abuse. We thank you, Lord, for the favorable weather and turnout for our cookout with a cop as our officers and officers from other entities came together to continue to show a different side of law enforcement to our residents and to continue to show them that we are indeed just regular, everyday people who just happen to have the job of protecting and serving our community. Lord, we ask for a safe and good weather weekend for the upcoming Antique Power Show, as this year will not only again celebrate our rural heritage, but this year we'll also be remembering Mr. Jim Reed, a former employee of the city who was a strong supporter of the Antique Power Show. We ask for all this tonight in your holy name. Amen. Kathy, roll, please.
Carter. Here. Walter.
Here.
Howe.
Here.
Barstow.
Here.
Hayes. Here. Hicken.
Here.
Lee.
Okay, we have a quorum present. First thing on the agenda tonight is citizens' comments. Anybody that wishes to speak, if you haven't been here before, please come up, give us your name, your address, and you'll have 5 minutes in which to speak. Anybody wish to speak tonight?
Good evening. My name is Fred Perry. I live on Oak Meadow Drive. And I'd really like to have some questions answered. You don't have to do them tonight, just need them later on. First off, how come, I know you're going to do this Oak Meadow project, but we none of us have received a letter, even anything to say what you're trying to do, what you want to do for us, or how it's going to be done. Here we sit in the dark up there, we're all hear stories of what you're going to do. Some of them I don't like, and most of them don't like one of them, but I hear. So we just wonder what's going on. The biggest story we hear is you want to put a bike path up there. The bike path goes to my front yard. My property will go down to the radar, and it'll go down. And if somebody wants to buy it, I don't think they're going to come up there and say, I'll buy your property, Mr. Perry, but I sure like that bike path in the front yard. Would you want one in your front yard? I'll put it that way. Okay, I know it's going to cost bundles of money to do this. There's no denying that. If you have to, take the time and do it right, please. Just do it right. Take all the time you want. It's been bad all this long this time. It won't matter now. But it'll sure benefit you in the long run when it's over with if you do it right. Instead of having to go back and do it again or do some more afterwards, which you should have done it the first time. And thank you for letting me talk to you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Anybody else wish to speak tonight?
My name is Vera Flegel, and I'm with Emerge Real Estate. I'm a resident of Petoskala for 49 years. I am now residing at 95 Lincoln Street, PO Box 553. I'm speaking on behalf of Charlene Miracle, 166 Lincoln Street. Sorry, I'm not a public speaker.
Just speak up as loud as you can.
I am here to ask forgiveness of a CHIP program, that was community housing impact, lien against her property. Charlene has been a resident of this town forever. She is a good-hearted woman. She has prayed for many. She is a Christian lady. She has done health care for elderly people for years and years. She took on this lien against her property to help her financially to stay in her home. This was done in 2015, and she, at that time, it was a good solution for her. She has since then fallen. She is weak on her feet. She has health issues. She has back strain, and the property is too much for her to maintain. She's financially struggling, and we're asking for a release of this lien against her property. It's our understanding it's declining over a period of 10 years. It eventually will disappear on its own, but we're looking to get a release of the lien so that we can sell the property and keep the money in her hands to help her financially fund herself to live until she gets to heaven.
Thank you.
Okay?
Anybody else wish to speak tonight? All right, seeing none, introduction, discussion, and approval of consent agenda matters.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes.
Okay, consent agenda matters have passed. On the reports, I just have several things here. I know Chief will touch base on Cookout with a Cop, and I'll chime in then. Our Missing in Action POW celebration will be Friday night at 6 p.m. at Veterans Green. First time we're having that. American Legion's helping us out with that one. Tonight I'll be asking for a motion. It's Power Show time again, so I'll be asking, I think Tim or Todd will help me out here, and every year I ask that the city waive the camping and the animals and the entertainment so that we can carry on the antique power show that we have for years and years and years. I'll appreciate that. Bless you.
That was a sneeze, sorry.
And I know you'll touch base on River Roundup, but good job again, once again, for spearheading that, getting it rolling. I think we'll make that even bigger and better next year. So I know you had a rainy day, but at least you weren't underwater. So, and then just quick kudos to both the street department and I'm not sure if planning and zoning had anything to do with this one or not, but while working at one of my properties, I noticed some illegal blacktop dumping. Some apartments got done with their blacktop pouring and had a little extra, so they just thought they'd dump it. So I called our city administrator, and in less than a week it was all cleaned up and taken out of there. So kudos to jumping on something like that as quick as you did. And also just this past week witnessed some dumping on Headley's Mill. Called the street department immediately and the police department, who both responded in a timely manner and were able to get names and addresses off of the trash that was thrown out. So we'll be seeing those folks in Mayor's Court. So kudos to the police department for quick response and the street department for cleaning up trash and crap on Headley's Mill on a Monday morning. So thank you very much. That's all I have. Mr. Hicken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Must be the theme, because I also have a thank you for the streets program, both the administration and the streets, the fire board on Thursday. They spoke most highly of the work that was done in connection with Old Fire Station 1. I believe you guys basically helped them. You have helped them before. President of the fire board specifically said to thank the city of Pataskala for working in concert on that. So that's number one.
Is that the blacktop and the drainage and stuff?
Yep.
I haven't seen it yet. Great.
So he spoke, and they also singled out, it must have been Jason or Jason's crew that had shown up and helped them troubleshoot some issues out there. So that's that. The other thing that I have is you guys, council may have seen it already, but I asked BJ King to forward the findings of facts from the recent BZA denial of Looking Heights' new school. I think that has already been distributed to council. I have not yet heard the recording, and I have not talked to anybody on BZA because I wasn't sure what the rules were about that and keeping proper, not influencing a group like that. But I think it would behoove us all to take a look at that because it could have implications in the upcoming budget discussions that we're going to have. So familiarize yourself with as much of that as possible. And that's probably the last thing that I have on here. That is. I'm done.
Okay. Very good. Mr. Zatz.
I feel like I should give kudos to the street department just to keep the theme, so I will. Great job, everybody. That's all I have.
Okay, Mr. King.
And they may end up mad at me because I don't have any kudos left to give after that. So I just have a few quick things, Mayor. Just a reminder to council that I will be out of the state on vacation from September 22nd to the 29th, and Utilities Director Nathan Coy will serve as acting administrator during that time. Nate is not here this evening. He had another commitment, but I also just wanted to mention that the vacant position in the Utilities Department, it has been advertised, and we've received a handful of applications, and we've worked with the PBR to get a meeting scheduled with them to get those to them so they can certify a list of applicants, and we can get that position filed as quickly as possible. I know Bruce is going to give some specifics on the cookout this past weekend, but I just wanted to say how enjoyable that event is to get exposure for the cops, the city as a whole, and just to be able to get out and talk to people in a different environment than we typically do, and it's something that I really enjoy, and it's become very successful over the last couple of years. That's all I have, and happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Anything from Mr. King? Thank you, sir. Jamie?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, for my report, I did want to give you an update on the budget process right now. It's going really well. We have a draft of the budget presentation materials, the skinnier book, if you will, not the big book, the skinnier book. The goal would be, I've given the department heads till Friday to review and give me feedback if there's anything they want to add, change, or modify. And then my hope would be sometime early next week, I'll get it in your hands, so you'll have it well in advance of the October 8th meeting. So you'll be able to work with it. I'll also include a comprehensive CIP document as well, which you'll know all the individual projects and where they're being funded, et cetera. So you'll have plenty of time, in advance of that October 8th meeting. So that's all I have.
Very good. Anything for Jamie? All right, Alan?
Thank you, Mayor. A few things tonight. One, the ramp. We had our pre-construction meeting here last week. Work is anticipated to start on that the first week of October. Schedule is supposed to take about 2 to 3 weeks to finish up most of that work, and we will be putting out public notice for folks that are affected on that. The Taylor Road culvert, I mentioned at the last council meeting, we discovered a 42-inch culvert that was in pretty bad shape. We've worked with Spenco Excavating to work out where the street department is going to coordinate with them to do some of that work, to do that quickly and relatively inexpensively. We'll be closing Taylor Road next Monday and Tuesday if the weather permits to allow that to happen. We will be putting the message boards out this Wednesday, as well as putting public notice out for that. And finally, there is a resolution on tonight for then and now. This is for the Columbia Road project. We've already done the supplemental appropriation. This is more or less just dotting the I, doing the paperwork because the work was authorized before we authorized payment. So now that all that's in place, then and now we'll authorize that and we'll get that paid. Happy to answer any questions.
How soon on Macon Broad?
Right now, we're actually waiting for power to both Lincoln Broad and the signal at Broadmoor. And with the hurricane, my understanding is there's not many AEP forces around to do that. So as soon as AEP gets the power, we'll do the burn tests. It has to take 10 days with a bagged of operation to make sure there's no faults, and then they should be operational hopefully very soon.
And I wanted to ask too, I always like, because the residents ask me where their road is on the ramp. Do you update that every year,
It's every other year.
every other year?
Yeah, this year is, we're planning to update it, and I'm working on that now.
Okay, very good. Anything for, yes, ma'am?
Two things. Alan, tell me again, which part of Taylor?
This is between Kennedy and Cleveland.
Between Kennedy and Cleveland. So that stretch of Taylor right there for Monday and Tuesday of next week.
Yes.
Okay. You've reached out to the school district to let them know this?
If we haven't, well, I think they've already known, but we're gonna reach out on
Just to
Wednesday to
remind
let
them.
everybody know. Yes,
Okay.
post office and police and fire and all that, yes.
Okay, perfect. And I just wanna comment real quick on the Taylor Road Trail, which is coming along nicely. It looks beautiful. The only thing I would ask is, just a reminder to administration to keep council informed of changes or things we may not know about, because for at least 3 years, I've been touting that we have 2 asphalt paths going up and down each side of the road. And so when I'm asked questions about the concrete, I say, no, we're having asphalt. And I look like an idiot, because I have no idea that there's concrete on the west side of the road. So that was the plan that was presented to me forever. So I don't know if there was a change or if we misunderstood what was about to happen. I'm not sure what that is. It looks wonderful, but I have had to field questions, and you know, we've had in the past, I don't like not knowing what's going on in my ward. So
We'll
I
certainly
would
make sure
appreciate that.
to do that.
Thank you.
Was there a change in that?
It's been that way since I've been here, so I don't know when that happened.
Anything else for Alan? All right, very good, thank you, sir. Mr. Fulton?
Thank you, Mayor. An update to the October 9th Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. In my report, we had no applications. Since that time, we do have 3 applications in. So there will be 3 variance applications on the October 9th Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. Ordinance 2018-4322, that's for Mr. Maynard's property on Broad Street. That was tabled at our last council meeting as there were some concerns regarding commercial activity, currently being conducted from the property, and did that constitute a home occupation? And if so, what type of home occupation? So I spoke with Mr. Maynard regarding this and met with him and outlined all the home occupation requirements and provided a report attached to my report that outlined Mr. Maynard's responses to all the provisions of the home occupation requirements. He also provided a letter indicating how his business operates, just a general summary. So my report is attached, and then his specific responses and letter are attached to that as well. So just some general conclusions from my conversations with Mr. Maynard and the information he provided. The city has 2 home occupation types. There's a type A and a type B. The type A would be where business is conducted from the site, but there's no employees or customers that come to the site. So that would be, if you did data entry at your house, that would be like a type A. With that, no permit is required. Someone could begin doing that tomorrow and they would be completely legal. Type B would be something where employees, at least one, or at most one non-resident employee works at the property, or customers up to 12 come to the site. So in discussions with Mr. Maynard and the information he provided, it would be clear to the Planning and Zoning Department at this point that it appears that it is a type A home occupation. Everything is handled through the phone. If there's someone that needs an estimate for a garage door, Mr. Maynard goes to the property. If they decide to go with Mr. Maynard's company for garage door work, he sets everything up and sends subcontractors to their site to take care of the garage door. So based upon that, it's a type A home occupation where no permit would be required. In the information provided by Mr. Maynard, he indicated that the trailers on the property at one time were used in conjunction with the business, but no longer are used in conjunction with the business, and he's looking to get rid of them. So if that being the case, then if they are no longer used as part of the business, then he would still be a type A home occupation, that there's no outdoor storage of equipment associated with the business. However, if you have trailers on a property that's residential, that is legal, however, they must have current license plates. The zoning inspector went by, some are currently licensed, some are not. So if the trailers were to be currently licensed or removed from the property, he would be legal from a type A home occupation perspective, and no permit would be required to be completely legal. So about the only thing that's hanging out there is the trailers on the property. We also looked into the sign on the property. The sign received a permit on October 13th, 2014. With that, the permit should not have been approved for that sign. The code has provisions that state that if a permit is issued in error, the Planning and Zoning Department can render that permit void. However, from a Planning and Zoning Department perspective, it being almost 4 years ago and Mr. Maynard having paid not only the application fee, but the fee, the money to install the sign, pay for the sign, all based upon coming in and getting a permit, the Planning and Zoning Department would have an issue to say, oops, I know it's almost 4 years later, you need to remove your sign. So, from the Planning and Zoning Department's perspective, it's a type A home occupation. We just need to get the issue with the trailers resolved. And while the sign technically should not have received a zoning permit, it did. And the Planning and Zoning Department would be somewhat reluctant to come back almost 4 years later and rescind that zoning permit. The next one would be ordinance 2018-4314. Last time we were down to about 4 or 5 issues on the property. Since that time, we have narrowed it down to 1, and we're currently in the process of getting that squared away. It is our goal to have this back before council at the next meeting, which is October 1st. We'll have some before and after pictures to show the progress to council. And then at that point, council can determine what to do, but our goal is to get every zoning violation corrected on the property so that council can consider the rezoning based upon the merits of the rezoning and not with the consideration of the zoning violations. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Barstow.
Okay, on 4322, Scott, so, that's a rezoning request. So if the property is rezoned, how does that factor into the home occupancy, piece?
With the home occupation, if this were to be rezoned, then the residential use of the property would be legal non-conforming. So it's still a legal use on the property, but does not necessarily conform to the zoning code because residential uses are not permitted in the general business district. However, we see that with a lot of different places that things have been zoned commercial and we have residences existing on these properties. It's not uncommon. So if the residential use were to cease for a period of at least 2 years, residential use would be no longer applicable to the property and the only thing that could go there would be commercial use. So if the rezoning was to go through, the residential use would be legal non-conforming, and again, aside from the trailers, the home occupation would be legal and permitted.
That was really confusing.
Which part?
If I can try to so right now, what the planning and zoning is saying is that it's a type A home occupation that is allowed to be there, no permit required. If this was rezoned to general business, they would still be able to continue that operation there. It would be legal then based on that, and it's legal now, but it would be legal based on that zoning classification. They'd be allowed to do that in the general business. And as long as the house is not vacant for more than 2 years, he's allowed to continue to live there with the new GB zoning classification.
Wait, vacant? Because Scott, you said vacant. Scott said something else. You didn't say vacant.
If the residential use were to cease for a period of 2 years or more. So if it was vacant, that Mr. Maynard left the property and was vacant for 2 years, it couldn't be used as a residence again.
What, if it's zone general business and he decides, hey, I'm going to actually run my business out of here, because now it's in general business, then he would, for 2 years, would he then be able to switch back and live there without the business?
If he decides I'm going, because right now the way it's running it, the business is operated, it's a legal home occupation. So
Right.
it can continue on in perpetuity that way. If it's rezoned to general business and he decides, well, I want customers to come to the site, I'm gonna bring employees in, he would need to get a certificate of zoning compliance. And then that would have to completely deviate away from any home occupation. It would have to cease to be a residence at that point if he wanted to go that
He
route.
could not live there.
Correct.
Okay.
Mrs. Carter?
I'm just break it down. So right now, he could continue to operate his business legally as it is today, without
Correct.
rezoning.
Correct.
If we rezone it, what does it open it up to for future use? Not, and I'm not talking about Mr. Maynard, I'm talking about 10 years down the line,
There's a
50 years down the line.
hundreds of different uses. I mean, we could have, it could be like an accountant's office, doctor's office, barber shop. Grocery stores are permitted, but I think at some point, due to size limitations, a Kroger won't fit there. So based upon the size, it's somewhat limited in terms of what uses it could be, but there's a number of different uses.
And how does that fit into our new comprehensive plan?
Along that area, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I think it does, that area would be a mix of commercial and residential uses in through there along Broad.
Okay, hold on. Go ahead, Mr. Hooker.
I guess my question is Mr. Maynard moving towards the licensing or the removal of the trailers? And do you anticipate that that would happen, for instance, at the next meeting, our next meeting?
I'm hoping so. I reached out to Mr. Maynard last week, but didn't hear back. I did leave a message to say, hey, kind of where are we with the trailers? I wanted to present this to council. We can proceed with code enforcement. As of right now, those, if they're not licensed, they are not permitted on the property. So that would be a code enforcement issue that we can pursue. But in terms of, you know, in his letter, he stated he's planning on getting rid of them, but I don't have timeframes.
Okay.
Or is that selling them, moving them? I don't have that information.
Mr. Walther?
Just a point of clarification, Scott. In your report for the occupational use, you talked about the independent contractors that he utilizes for the work to be done for garage doors. The point that I didn't understand exactly, do they come to the house, do they come to this parcel and pick up the materials and then go install them, or do they go to a warehouse or wherever they may be, pick them up and go and install them? The question really is, are there materials on this site that are being stored in any way that need to be picked up by independent contractors?
The way it was presented to me, no.
Okay.
That everything is handled off-site, everything is through phone.
Okay. Everybody's had a chance. We'll go back to Mr. Barstow.
So what does Mr. Maynard want? Does he want to rezone, or does he just want to get a permit?
Based upon the request, it would be he wants to rezone. And we had, the question came up in terms of tabling is, there's a business running there currently. How does that factor in? So that's why I looked into it to see, clearly it's a home occupation, but what type? Is it legal? So based upon the information that I received and my review, it would be a type A, and trailers aside, it's legal as it is today. But Mr. Maynard, from all intents and purposes, with him requesting the rezoning, would want to rezone the property. As part of his request, he said maybe a garage door business, maybe a small car lot, but he's not limited to just those if the property were to be rezoned. It's opened up to every potential use of the, or permitted use of the general business district.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else? Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Lanier?
Thank you, Mayor. Today I would just like to give a report on our August Parks and Recreation Board from August. We had a resident come in from Gahanna wanting to see if he would be able to utilize Freedom Park for a paragliding. So he would like to use the park to land and take off. He currently lives in the no-fly zone in Gahanna, and we didn't really have an answer for him. So I'm coming to you guys for a little bit of, there's liability to this. Is it an open space? Is he able to use it as is?
Mr. King?
It's certainly something we can discuss with Mr. Zetz and then, provide some information to this gentleman.
Okay. Other than that, that's it for the day.
Anything for Lanier?
Yes.
I'm just curious, is it a fly zone for us, or is it no fly zone?
I don't know, I'm not familiar with our
No
fly
fly
zone.
I'm
Fly
familiar
zone,
with our
so,
Paraguay. Our-
There's certainly some, we'll get with Mr. Zetz about liability requirements, is it permitted is it a use that's permitted in the park, those sorts of things.
Considering how low the airplanes come sometimes over my house, I don't know.
As long as he stays away from the tornado siren, I'm okay.
It's,
Yeah.
Lanier, do we have to do any changes to the park to allow him to do that? I mean, obviously, we've got soccer fields out there, goals, those kind of things. Are those obstacles for him?
No, it's just a 30-yard sprint
That's it?
right into the air, and then land, come back down. He's willing to do a demonstration for it if needed.
that's okay. And give rides. We will certainly get with Mr. Zetz about this and, get some information.
Very good. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Just have forgot what the cop talk about. It was another great event, great weather, a lot of nice smiling faces and hamburgers and hot dogs. Just like to thank Lanier and of course you for on all the work, and Jess and BJ too for helping us out. Not so little event anymore. It just keeps growing and growing. It's a really good time. That's it.
Yeah, and I appreciate Officer McClellan's work too. 2 points there too. I think he did 3 dog demos, and of course it was packed every time. And Officer Morton gave a nice narrative each time, and Joker went through his paces. Excellent, I might add too, which I'm sure made Officer McClellan happy because he's been working hard with Joker. So. And then of course we got slammed because Morton would say, now you gotta go get something to eat. So we went through, I think, 300 hot dogs and 300 hamburgers and 400 or 500 bottles of water, and everybody had a great time. It was a beautiful day. So yeah, that was great. So all right, how's our newbies doing?
They're coming along just fine.
All right, anything for Bruce? All right, any committee chair reports? Yes, ma'am.
The Development Committee meeting tonight at 4 p.m. Scott presented some code changes for high grass and weeds, adding a couple of additional, I guess you would say, I hate to use the word limitations, but enforcement areas, if you will, to that. So the committee discussed it, and I'm sure that you have a copy of that in your packet from Scott, and it will move on to Planning and Zoning, or Planning and
Planning and Zoning
Commission for further review. With that, though, we did discuss the bigger topic of property maintenance and looking at our codes and how we are not a one-size-fits-all city. We can't do something that blankets. We want to make sure we're not making code changes that are unrealistic for the area. So Scott is going to work with Steve to look into some of the areas where we do have the most problems that we may need to address. I know we have a lot of complaints about, parked cars that remain there forever. A lot of our notification requirements under a different code has different timelines, different stipulations. So we're going to look at some streamlining in those processes so you can expect the same thing with every code violation. So they will be working on that. We specifically discussed the Old Summit Town Inn lot that had a garage, yard, lot, whatever sale there again this weekend. And there was an officer that went out there. Apparently the property owner has not placed no trespassing signs, so it leaves our our police department, unable to really enforce anything when they're out there. So it's more of a violation process for the property owner. So that is something that we're talking about. I mean, they have a number of issues. We're constantly battling the weeds and the grass, donation site, car lot, whatever it is for the month. So those are some things we're gonna really start to dig into the code and look at creating some consistencies. Specifically, instead of asking Steve to flex his hours, like, hey, work this Saturday and try to catch them having a yard sale. What we will do is, if Mr. Barstow, you and I both travel that area often, so I'm gonna tag you on this with me. If you see that, just notify Mr. King, who will reach out, and we're going to see if Steve would be willing to come out and then take the picture so he can write the violation. Apparently, we have no recourse unless he comes out and does his thing.
What if they have the wall hangings of the dogs playing poker? Can I stop in and buy something?
Before you call BJ.
Yes, okay, thanks.
I would say, get your vacuum before you call BJ, so,
Okay.
they have none. So, we're going to see if that's something that Steve is willing to do, so we can see about getting that situation resolved. We're very reactionary, we don't have any way to enforce that, which seems to be the theme for most things that go on with our code enforcement. So, again, we're gonna be one at a time, digging them out and trying to clean everything up for some consistencies. And that's about all I have.
Anything? Yes.
No, another committee.
Oh, okay, anything for Mrs. Carden? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Walter?
Street Committee met this evening. Our topic of the evening was the Safe Travel Plan Phase 1. Alan presented us with 50% plans as well as an updated cost estimate. The plans were looked at for a couple different items that a couple concerns were brought up that Alan's going to work with our engineer on and to see if we can review those. The other thing was that the budget came in, or the estimate came in slightly above our budget that had been originally put together for Phase 1. This was based mainly on needing a battery backup, essentially a power pack for that signal. So other than that, well, the schedule, it looks like we can go through and bid this out and look to award this the December 3rd meeting, and with the actual construction happening in 2019.
Very good. Would you, just kind of a dummy, what's 50% drawings mean? What's that mean, basically?
Roughly, the plans are outlined with a pretty good idea of what we're gonna do. It's just the details of the plans are not fleshed out.
So kind of a rough idea and a rough estimate.
Yes.
You might not have all the general notes exactly right. There might be some other things to add to it, maybe utilities to add on there or something like that, but.
I'd heard the term, just wanted it for my own knowledge. Thank you. Anything for Andy on the street? Yes, ma'am.
Just to add, we do have a street committee meeting next Monday.
Yeah, I was gonna, yep,
Sorry.
no problem. Yep, August, or, I'm sorry, August.
September?
24th, we'll have our next meeting.
All
I
right.
think that one's at 5, is that correct, Kathy?
I'd have to double check.
Okay, I thought it was at 5.
And that is about the ramp.
Mainly about the ramp, but there may be a few other items on that, but mainly about the ramp.
4:30.
You have 4:30?
4:30,
Okay.
The current ramp?
Suzanne, is that it?
Yeah.
The current ramp.
Future ramp.
Future ramp, okay.
The current ramp hopefully will be built, no, it won't be built.
They're good, but they're not that. All right, on to unfinished business. 4314, I'm assuming will stay on the table, or stay tabled. Any desire to take 4322 off the table? All right, ordinance 2018-4323 for a third reading.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Hicken and seconded by Mr. Barstow. Kathy, when you're ready, third reading.
Ordinance 2018-4323, this is the third reading, an ordinance approving and adopting current replacement pages to the City of Pataskla codified ordinances.
Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move we adopt ordinance 2018-4323.
Got a motion to adopt?
Second?
We got a second by Mr. Hicken. Discussion? And roll.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Ordinance passes. On to resolutions. Resolution 2018-043, a resolution releasing the Community Housing Impact and Preservation CHIP Program mortgage for the property located at 166 Lincoln Street, Pataskala, Ohio 43062, and owned by Charlene D. Miracle.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Hayes. Discussion? And roll.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2018-044, resolution pursuant to ORC 135.12 to designate Park National Bank as a depository of active public monies for the city of Pataskala and to authorize the city administrator to enter into an agreement for active deposits and banking services for the great city of Pataskala.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Barstow,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Hicken. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I want to thank the Finance Committee for the work that they did on this, and also Mr. Nicholson.
Mr.
I'm
Walter?
going to echo that. The write-up that you did, Jamie, was excellent. And I think it's excellent to, we're still working with the local bank, and they showed that they were, tried and true to be the best choice. So, thank you.
Yeah, you're here.
They've come a long way in the last 3 years with their technology. I'm very impressed with that now.
I remember that being one of your stumbling blocks 2 or 3
5 years ago, yeah, they weren't where they are today.
Yeah.
And they've made good progress. Good.
Very good. Any other comments? All right, Kathy, call the roll, please.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 2018-045, a resolution to approve a then and now certification by the City Finance Director pursuant to RC 5705.41 D2 for the payment of operating expenditures.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Hicken and seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? And roll.
Hicken,
Yes?
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Resolution passes. Any motions tonight?
Mr. Mayor, I believe there's a motion on, for the Director of Utility Services.
Yeah, is there any motion? Okay, yeah, we do have a motion. Motion approving report of Director of Utility Services and instructing Director of Utility Services to notify County Auditor of charges associated with payment of delinquent water and sewer balances for purposes of assessment against real estate.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Hicken,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Walter. Discussion? And roll.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hicken,
Yes?
Okay, motion passes. Any other motions?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to waive the prohibition on camping animals and campfire.
Entertainment.
I'm sorry, entertainment.
Just fires are already in there, aren't they? Motion to waive prohibition on camping, animals, and campfires. And entertainment.
And entertainment
Yep.
for the Antique Power Show, September 28th, 29th, and 30th
At Foundation Park.
at Foundation Park. Thank you.
Got a motion? Need a second?
second.
Seconded by Mrs. Hayes. Discussion? Yes.
So, what kind of animals are we talking about there?
Well,
Can't wait.
Ready to ask that?
We're going to limit that at all,
I was a little
or?
worried too there for a second.
no, this would be more like, just dogs and
Dogs.
stuff. It's not, we used to have a
Shall we
petting.
say dogs?
We used to have a petting zoo. Well, and if we had a farmer that was gonna bring some, goats or something for the kids to, and have a petting zoo.
Agricultural and
Agricultural
residential
stuff.
animals, not exotic or
No, No snakes,
think
no
we should be-
birds, no, no nothing.
Perhaps for the liability, we should be more specific in what types of animals slither
Okay.
through. Non-venomous creatures?
I just worry about a little bit of, as far as horses go and that kind of thing with the existing, that there's been a lot of work for those soccer fields and so forth. And we do a lot to protect those, to keep, for instance, tractors off of them and so forth
No
in the tractor show.
Clydesdales.
But I would hope that the animals wouldn't be running free on those.
No. We try to keep everything, when I say power show side, that's the side that's away from the soccer fields. I mean, yes, we do drive, if the weather permitting. We always have a plan B if it is wet and muddy, and we do not drive on the soccer fields. They're usually all taped off. And we try to keep all of our entertainment on the, what I call the power show side, so, and again, I use the term loosely on the animals. It's not farm animals, it's not horses, it's not cows, it's not pigs, it's not sheep. We haven't had those for years. It's just always been in there, so.
So that means no Clydesdale soccer in Andy. No.
Polo soccer.
Any
One-
other
one other.
Yes.
Just to ask you, BJ, I know Lanier, I don't think Lanier's had been a part of the tractor show yet, but have we had any issues with any kind of, rehabilitation of areas where camping has been done or fires have been?
We haven't.
Haven't had any of
No,
those?
everything's cleaned up, and by the end of the weekend, you wouldn't even know they were there.
Thank you. Yeah, I work with the street department very closely. I'll be working with Lanier, and again, we're happy just to be able to have, there's not many parks in central Ohio that have a pulling track for tractor pulls and that kind of entertainment, so, we don't look at it lightly, and we try to take care of it. And if there was ever any damage, the Lions Club and myself would certainly, pay restitution to have something repaired, so. That's why I do work closely with the street department. They help me out a whole day on setup, and we'll be working closely with Lanier, as I have in the past with the Walthers, to make sure that the porta-johns and the keys and everything's taken care of, so. Any other questions? All right, Kathy, roll please.
Carter,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes.
Powell,
Yes.
Barstow,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Pickens.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We're gonna go into executive session, so I'm gonna, we'll do our citizens' comments now, because we might be a little bit, in our session. So any additional citizens' comments? Anybody wish to speak on any topic that we have discussed tonight? I'll need your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak on any topic we've discussed tonight. All right?
Hang on, Mayor, you may have one.
Okay.
I couldn't hear a thing that was going on.
Okay, you're fine.
But I do want to say,
Okay, give me your name and address real quick.
my name is Charlene Miracle.
Okay.
I live at 166 Lincoln Street,
Okay,
Tascala. I was born at Vine and Cedar when I'm 81 years old.
you're born in the
And-
library?
Below, on the corner,
Very good.
the Moreland. My great grandmother had a milk route from that house.
Okay,
But anyway, I can't thank you enough because you can't understand the impact you've had on my life tonight. I don't know what would have happened actually if you hadn't approved this. And tonight when we came out the back door, there's this beautiful rainbow.
there you go.
And I thought, thank you, Lord.
There you go.
My desire is to remain in Tascala. I have 2 options for rentals, and I would like to be in a position to continue to serve the Lord in a capacity of older people. And the property has been such a burden to me because of my financial situation. If the tree falls on the house, I can't fix it. If the plumbing goes bad, I can't fix it. I have no money. And it's been a real struggle. But you just changed the course of my life. And I'm so grateful, and I thank you so much.
Well, we're glad we can
My
help.
I have a buyer for my house. He's been very gracious. He's been mowing the yard for 3 months. He's wonderful. His mother was my friend. And my desire is just the remainder of my years, God providing the time and health, I'd just like to serve him. I've done that since 1970, but the past few years have been extremely difficult. So my friends are supporting me, and I don't know a person on this council, and I've lived here all my life. Not a person, I don't think. But thank you so much for being so gracious, for helping me.
You're welcome.
I'll keep in touch.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good night. Anybody else wish to speak? All right, Mr.
Mr. Mayor,
Higgins. Yes,
I'd like
sir.
to make a motion to move into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 to consider the employment of a public employee, executive session to include Mr. Zetz.
Got a motion?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Barstow. Discussion? We going upstairs? Okay, and Mr. Zetz is included. Okay, roll call, please.
Walter?
Yes?
Powell?
Yes.
Barstow?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Higgins?
Yes.
Carter?
Okay, executive session at 7:52.